All right, so we've downloaded our zip file which contains our project. So what we need to do is just extract this. So I'm just going to extract that real quick and open this up in my favorite text editor, which is VS Code. All right, so I have it on VS Code, and so over in VS Code we have our project, right? But nothing is working right now because we don't have our um node underscore modules file, and we have none of these dependencies installed. So you just need to open up your integrated terminal, and you don't need to cd into anything because your integrated terminal will do that. But if you're using an external terminal, then you need to make sure you change directory to this project. So all you need to do is just run npm install and hit enter, and that should install all the dependencies that this project needs. Now, while that is going on, let's go get our free API key by clicking on Get Free API Key. Now, what you need to do is to select the free one, the free version, no hidden cost attached, and it won't also request for your card. All right, so that's one of the cool advantages of using this one. So let's use the free one, and that should make us sign up. All right, now so I believe they do not request for email verification. I guess so. So what you need to do is just fill in your credentials, sign us up. All right. So now you saw what happened. It didn't ask for you to verify your email, right? So you can see over here. I'm gonna blur it out, but at least you should see your API key. So once you do that, you just need to copy your API key and attach it as an access key to any endpoint you want to listen to. Now, what we're going to be using the live. We're not going to use the list. Okay, so we're going to use live, and we're going to pass in the symbols we want. And all right, let's just see. Let's go to the documentation and follow through with the documentation. But for now, I'm just going to copy my API key, head over to my, okay, this is done. So we can close this for now. Now head over to source, and under source, create a new folder called config, and within that create an index.js file, and just say export const API underscore key is equal to your API key. Of course, I'm still going to blur it out. You won't be able to see my API key. Just post production stuff. All right, so let's head over to documentation. And now what you need to do is to scroll over to where you see live. Sorry, yeah. Are we looking for live or list? So let's scroll up a bit, and I'm looking for. Let's see. Yeah, I'm looking for live, but now we need to pass in different things to live. So we need to pass in our target, and once we pass in our target, then we also need to pass in the symbols we want to generate back. In this case, we're going to be restricting ourselves to BTC, and yeah. So let's code that up real quick. So, but before we go on, let's run our app to make sure everything's working fine. Then start, and if everything works fine, then we should be ready to go back to what we're working on. All right, so if you see these, then everything should work fine for you. So we have this default of 10,000 as our placeholder, whatever that means. But if we click on calculate, you can see our form reached it submits, and nothing is actually happening. But we can still go to all these other places. But like I said, we're going to change this. So instead of making this USD directly, we're going to change this to amount. Then we're going to have our fiat down here. All right, so let's update that code real quick by heading over to components and going to home.js. I'm just going to close this down and shut some of this aside. So instead of making this USD, let's change it to amount. and over here can be amount. All right, so now what we want to do is to maintain our BTC, but now we need to have a select field. Let's first of all have our div with a form group, and over here now we can actually add empty-4. I just want to place this, margin it up to be that way, and let's make a label over here, HTML4, and we just say Fiat. Now Fiat is like the currency symbol in the crypto world. Okay, so we have our select from control, and I don't need the name, so I'll just give it an ID for Fiat. So once we select the label, it should select the select field for us. So I'm just gonna go with 4 for now. So option times 4. So we have USD, we have NGA, NGN, sorry, not NGA, NGN. Then we have GMD, and that's for the country I am right now. So GMD, and we can say EUR and EUR. So that's going to be the fiat, okay, in the crypto world. So over here now we can be able to select which one we want. We can be able to select the fiat we want, and once we specify the amount of BTC that we want and click on calculate, it should give us the value of BTC based on the fiat that is being selected. So that's why I wanted to say, okay, we can use that as a workaround to this one. We could have just used the same component instead of having to type everything, but that's fine. So now for this to work, we need certain things, right? So we need to have our endpoint. So let's go back and add our endpoint. So we need to have export API underscore URL is equal to export const, and let's grab our endpoint. So our endpoint is going to be HTTP live. I don't know why I skipped the rest. So you say live, and I believe that should be our API URL. So I just love to abstract everything. So instead of just, I love to abstract it here. So now we can import our API underscore URL. We can also import our API underscore key from. Now we need to go back, to our config and grab our index file. So that's where we're going to be getting this ones from, right? And now we need to import Axios from Axios. Now if you head back to the package, the JSON file, you can see that Axios is one of our dependencies, and Axios is just a way for us to make HTTP requests in a very easy way. All right, so now let's have our function over here that will do it. So let's just say calculate BTC is equal to, now we need to pass in our event, and so this is where we will now do our calculation. And before we go on, let's just say e.prevent default. E.prevent default. And over here now we can pass it to our form by saying on submit calculate BTC. Alright, so now we need to import other things. Let's import use state. So we import use state because we need that to manage our state, right? From React. So over here we can create 3 states. So let's just say, I think 3 should be fine. So let's just say amount in BTC, set amount in BTC is equal to use state, and by default we'll give it 1. And the next one is our amount in fiat. Now we don't know which fiat is going to be selected, so we just give that 0. And the final thing is our fiat. So which fiat is being selected? So we say set fiat is equal to use state, and I'm just going to give the USD the default fiat. So how do we inject that in? So now we can inject it over here. So in our BTC, we can set the value to amount in BTC, and once we change that, we want to update the state. So we say on change, we pass in our event, and what we want to do is set amount in BTC to e.target.value, e.target.value, and that's how we do that, right? Okay, so to save myself from typing much, I'm just going to copy these and head over to the amount, and this amount is going to be read only because we don't want to change the value of it. So we just want to set the value, but we do not want to change it. So amount, this is going to be amount in fiat. And over here now we can give our value, our fiat, and on change, e that set fiat e the targeted value. Alright, so now if we head back to our app, you can see that 1 is now the default, right? And 0 is over here, and our default is fiat. So our default fiat is USD. If I change this to NGN, now you can see our default fiat is NGN. So I'll just change that back to USD. Alright, so now let's just wrap this in a try catch block. So in case there was any error, we can be able to log that to the console. And let's log it to the console, error.message. And over here now we can just say const data, because I'm trying to destructure it. And let's await. Since we're awaiting, this can be an async function. And we're going to say axios.get, and we pass in our API URL, question mark access underscore key is equal to our API key underscore key, and that will work, right? But now remember, we need to pass in two things. So we need to pass in the target and the symbols. So let's pass in our target. So you say and target is equal to fiat, and symbols is equal to BTC, because we know that we are hard coding to receive just BTC. If you want to receive more than BTC, you can receive Ethereum by specifying ETH and the rest of those cryptocurrencies. Alright, so but for now I just want to receive BTC, and let's log that to the console and see what we get. So save that, set amount of fiat. Are we setting amount of fiat? Yeah, of course we'll use that later, but for now let's just see what this returns to us. So back to the console, just we have one error, but that's fine. So let's just say, okay, we want to use 1 BTC. Let's see, and let's see what we get. So we head over to rates, and you can see we get the value for BTC. If we change this to NGN, calculate, and we get the value in Naira. If we change this to GMD, we get the value in dollars. Yeah, so this is it in dollars. If we change this to euros, we get the value in euros. So you get a point, right? So this is just the workaround to how it's supposed to be. All right. So now you notice that in the API response, that what we're getting back, we're looking at something called rates. So if we head over to one of these objects, so you can see rates, and we're only specifying BTC. Now, if you wanted to have ETH as well, once we just type in ETH, save that, and calculate once more, you can see that we have two things in our rate. So we have BTC and we have ETH. So if you want to extend this, just know that the more you do this, you're consuming your API. If I head over to my dashboard and I want to see my usage, so API usage, and you see I've made 5 requests, right? So you're given only 100 requests to make in a month, so you really need to be careful on the amount of requests that you make, because once you exceed that, it's going to start, requesting for you to be billed to start using the API, or you can just wait for the next month and you can continue doing it. All right, so I don't want to use this too much. So what I'm just going to do is, then once we do our calculation, it's going to give us the nearest whole number, and that's it. All right, so if we say we want to see 2 BTC in Naira, calculate, and this is the price. I haven't seen the latest price. What's going on? Let's change this to USD and see. Calculate. All right, so that was working. Let's change it back to NG and calculate. And yeah, so it's working. Let's make this 1. Calculate. Oh yeah, guys, sorry about that. I've seen the issue right now. So what we're doing, we're not actually using the amount. So let's fix that issue, because if you notice, I'm just, even if I type in 10 over here and I calculate that, I still get the value for 1. And I thought my application crashed, but it didn't crash. So what we need to do is just multiply amount in BTC multiplied by our response. Amount in BTC is not defined. Amount in BTC. So once we save this now and change this back to 1, calculate, and you can see we get the value, right? So if we change this to, in fact, I'm just going to go back to USD, calculate, and we get the value in USD. Let's change it back to 2, and you can see we get the value. Change it to 3 BTC, we get the value. So this is just the workaround. So instead of making the system do the calculation for you, you can do the calculation yourself. That's the conversion yourself. All right. So as usual, you're going to see the end project of this course, and this is everything I have for you in this lecture. I know it's a really long lecture, but at least you got the feel of how you can use your React application to connect to an external API using Axios, and you got everything you need to know. We're going to be building more projects, but we still need to learn more about React as we go along in this course. So let's keep the ball rolling, and I'll see you in the next lecture.